Hey, welcome back to Tripod's Garage. Well, Anet reached out to me and asked if I would like to review their Anet ET4 Pro. I said, why not? So let's go ahead and get this thing unboxed and see what this machine's all about.
I always like to assess the box when it arrives. There's a little bit of a hole there, a few big dents on the side, and yeah, overall I guess it's not in that bad of shape. So let's go ahead and open up this sucker. Bear's always around when I go ahead and open up the box. Just want to be careful with his little nose there. As you can see, foam is nice and abundant. Let's go ahead and start taking things out. Well, we get this little manual here. It's only a few pages, so, and we get a big, ginormous spool of PLA, some tools, we got a belt. Okay, and what else we got here? Got the USB adapter with the micro SD and a spare nozzle, some screws, and here's the whole hot end assembly. Has a built-in auto leveling too. Pretty nice. It's a pretty solid feel to it. Here's our gantry. It seems like everyone's going with this new modular design idea here. I think it's a great idea to have this breakout board. And here's our base, but we also get a little bit of a flex sheet type thing. But I won't be using it since it uses some adhesive. And everything is pretty solid here. It has a good feel to it, weight-wise. It's pretty hollow under one end. So let's go ahead and get the rest of these parts out and get this box out of the way. Here are all the parts laid out on my workbench. On the underside, you'll see the two holes on both ends here where the gantry will attach to. You'll see you have a nice open area here and an enclosed area. Yes, we are going to open this up. This will void the warranty, so I suggest not doing it unless the manufacturer recommends it. You can see here all the wires are nicely routed to and from the main board, up and down. Some cooling here on the bottom. Here's your power supply. It's a Meanwell. And you'll see that we have all crimped connections. Now this board is running silent drivers. They're 2208s, and this board is also a 32-bit board. It's a STM32F407 with 512 KB flash, and it's operating at 168 megahertz. As I mentioned, this is a Meanwell power supply. It's the LRS 350 watts. Nice to see some quality components in this. So, last shot of the inside. Now let's get to assembly. Alright, so now we have some transportation stops, I guess we'll call them, that's inserted into the extrusion here along the Y-axis. These are kind of a pain to get out, but I think they're even worse for the people that have to install them on here. So we have one right here along the front of the machine, and then we'll have another one in the back of the machine. So as you saw, all I did was insert my little screwdriver that was provided in the kit, pry it out a little bit, and then pull it out. It's not that bad. So, but sometimes it's just hard to get a little bit of a grip on it, especially when in the back here. So just try to push the carriage along its way and then go ahead and slide it out. Again, these are very important that you take out. So I guess that's why they're lime green. Let's go ahead and remove some of this foam material. It's going to be on both sides here. Also, let's remove this tape. It looks like it's some type of gaffer's tape to hold the stepper motor wire in place. So I have to say the pigment of this machine is pretty top notch. For this demo, I'm just going to stick with the glass bed. I'm not going to use the build sheet that uses the 3M adhesive to go onto the glass. Just not a fan with sticking things onto the build surfaces. If it was just a magnetic sheet or something, I would change my mind. But let's go ahead and just remove all this saran wrap around the corners here, and let's get to assembly. Now we're going to attach the gantry. Here are the mounting holes. If you've seen me build 3D printers or assemble the 3D printers in the past, I'm not a fan of laying them on its side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to overhang it off the workbench here and then insert the bolts on either side, tighten them. So when I do this, I'm going to just put them in loosely on both ends, make sure everything lines up, and then I'll just go ahead and tighten them on one end and then tighten them on the other. I want to make sure that this big loom, wiring loom, or whatever it is fed through the hole on the side, so we can begin wiring. Now, did find that this connection doesn't seat all the way in. I tried pushing it all the way in, and it's actually you can see that little bit of a gap in the middle. It just doesn't fit all the way. So here's our hot end with our auto leveling sensor. Everything seems to be built pretty well and solid. This fan duct is pretty unique looking, let's just say that, but everything is nice and compact. This is where we're going to attach our belt. We're going to loosen our X-axis stepper motor. This is where we could adjust the tension for our belt, and then we're going to drape our belt around the sides here of the X gantry. We just want to make sure that it's actually more on the right side, that you hold it in place. You can just let the other side go if you want. And we're going to grab our hot end assembly and we're going to slide it over on the right. This way it will kind of hold the belt in place as we try to attach the belt to this hot end assembly. Okay, well, yes, success. I actually did it on the very first try. Let's go ahead and turn the machine around, and we're going to install the belt through these little retainers on both sides of the hot end. Once we do that, we will be able to tighten the belt by actually sliding the stepper motor over on the X-axis. So doing this, you could just wedge a screwdriver, tighten it, and then tighten down the screws. Make sure that you're able to pluck the belt. It's a little bit taut, but not too tight, and definitely not too loose. Now you may have some play in your hot end here. This is when we're going to need to adjust the eccentric nut. So just give it a little bit of a tighten there, and then voila, all done. You want to make sure that it has some good rolling resistance, but not too much. Most of these newer printers come with a breakout board, and it makes wire management a lot easier. As you can see, all these wires are labeled, and you're just going to insert them into the corresponding inputs. So let's go ahead and get this going and get this all buttoned up for the wire management. You're provided 2 tie wraps to help with this wire management, and what we're going to do is insert these 2 tie wraps in these holes here, and we're going to then secure them and snip them. I want to make sure that that little tie wrap end is at the end to prevent it from moving side to side. And the last connection would be your Z stepper motor. Let's go ahead and get the filament spool holder assembled. Just requires 2 T-nuts and fasten it to the top of your gantry. Now that everything is assembled, this machine came together quite easily. Everything is nice and tightly packaged. Not too bad. Time for some peely action. The Anet ET4 Pro comes with a touchscreen interface. This touchscreen interface has three main buttons. You have your print button, where you can go ahead and select which file you want to print on your SD card. Then we're going to skip to the settings button, because here you can see where you can move the axes. Then you could see the info, and then if you want to upgrade, prepare, preheat, level, auto level, or manual level, or you could go ahead and change the filament. That is what the menu system consists of. So now we're going to go ahead and do the manual leveling of this printer. To start the leveling process, first we need to drop our hot end and get it level with the bed. To do this, we are going to first hit the home button and let it go ahead and center. But we may need to stop the execution of this if it starts to get too close to the bed. Once we do this, we're going to adjust the height of the Z. And once we do this, we're going to go ahead and insert a piece of paper, make sure it's underneath, and then so it slightly drags. And then once it does, we're going to go to the top of the unit and adjust the potentiometer. So get yourself a real small screwdriver, go to the top, and turn it just a little bit clockwise until it turns red. Do the manual leveling of all four corners before we decide to do the auto leveling. And that's standard process. You're grabbing a sheet of paper and just where you can barely, drag the paper across. Now we're going to adjust the Z, basically manually, but we're going to hit the home button again. And as the nozzle drops down, we are going to grab our piece of paper and adjust the height of the Z axis. So as we wait for it to finish, we're going to put the piece of paper underneath, and then we're going to go back to our Z, and we're going to adjust it to where the paper just barely drags. It's going to take some little bit of fine tuning, but once we have it, we'll go ahead and hit OK, and then we'll begin the auto leveling process. There we go. Let's go. So now we're going to start the auto leveling. This is sped up by 8 times. It does take a little while for the mesh to be created. As it's going through, you'll notice that the display doesn't show the whole mesh. No worries, it does actually house the whole mesh. So once this is done, we'll hit the home button again and make sure that our Z offset looks fine. Now the machine is very quiet, especially with stepper drivers. Now the only time that you're going to really hear anything is the fans on the Meanwell power supply. Once it starts ramping up, those fans get pretty loud. But you know what? It's worth the price.
Well, how did it print? Well, I started out with Cura 4.7. I loaded their default Anet ET4 profile, and so I decided to start out with the Benchy. The bed adhesion was pretty darn nice. You can see it on here. It's very slick, and it's definitely legible. That glass gives it a nice reflective surface, doesn't it? But when I start looking at this, see some lines here. You can barely feel it, but drag your fingernail across it, and there's definitely a lip there. It's on both. So you got this line right down the center. Besides these lines, this Benchy came out great. There's no string at all. Yeah, not too bad. So when I saw this, I'm like, well, maybe I'll change the filament. This is a brand new roll of Overture PLA. I just took it out of the box. So I said, okay, let's go ahead and replace it back with some standard white PLA. Again, the bed adhesion was fine. There we go. But again, I got these layer shifts or something. I don't know. It's definitely in both of them, the same exact spot. And I'm just wondering if it's my Cura profile. And then find it rather odd that after I changed it, I purged the nozzle, and then right when he gets to here, oh, that's yeah, there's still some red left. But again, there's absolutely no stringing in here at all. So I'm kind of thinking it's the Cura profile, because when I went into the memory card and printed from their samples, it came out amazing. Did have a problem though with releasing this raft on the bottom though, with it. But otherwise, the tail, it's a little bit, but there's a slight string up here, and the camera's not really even picking it up all that well, but you can see it right there. But there was a little string right there when the nozzle released off the top, but very solid. And then there was only 2 files, so I did the little piggy bank too. There's the raft on the bottom again, you know, with some supports. A little bit of a hard of a break off there, but this is pretty darn nice print. There is a little bit of stringing between the ears, but man, overall, that is amazing. So I really think it was my Cura profile for the benchies. And well, I wouldn't suggest putting any money in here, because there's really no way to get it out unless you try to shake it out. So now it's time for the Maker's Muse tolerance test here, right? So tried to do this on every one of my printers. So we got the 0.5. No, that definitely was a pass. 0.4, pass. 0.3, pass. 0.2, pass. And 0.15. It's really rough, but it did make it through. So this one doesn't spin as freely as the other ones. The other ones feel like more like a ball bearing. So yeah, you can see definitely the gaps here. But yeah, overall, I think that it prints pretty well. I will have to do an update video to see if I can streamline my Cura profile and see if I could get a better looking benchy or prints out of it. So I'm not one to use their custom, you know, slicers or hacked up slicers with the Cura in it. I try to stick with just one slicer. So, but that's definitely the prints here. And let's go to my final thoughts about this. What are my thoughts on the Anet ET4 Pro? Well, the packing was great. The assembly was very straightforward, very easy. It's built very well, has some quality components. It's definitely not going to go anywhere. But how does it print? I guess that's the ultimate test, right? Well, I think it prints very well. I definitely need to do some tweaking to my Cura profile. I did load their basic Anet ET4 profile, and I think there's something that needs to be adjusted with that, because these benchies, even though they're from a little bit of a distance, they look fantastic. There's something going on with these lines. And when I just printed directly from the card, I mean, these just came out stunning. They were beautiful. So I'll have to do an update video and see what I can do to improve the prints, and I'll definitely do a follow-up. Everything else is great on the machine. You're not going to get all the advanced features that you would want, that you may want out of the display, but it's enough for the average person to get through. So what else? I really don't know what else to say. I think some things that could be addressed is, I'd like to see, for safety reasons, some belt covers on both ends, because I think that's just more of a safety thing. I know that you can print out some and just install it yourself, but maybe on a future model that they can do something like that. And the plug, you know, it's very loose, and I did reach out to Anet. They're going to send me a replacement plug and see if that fixes it. So otherwise, I think it's a very solid printer for the price, and I really appreciate you tuning in to Tripod's Garage. So if you could please like, subscribe, and do all that other fancy stuff to get notified when I release some awesome content, that'd be great. And you know what? Please have a great weekend, day, evening, or whenever you decide to watch this video. Thank you, and have a good day.